On today's episode of Homeworthy, one of our favorite hosts, Ruth McKeaney, is taking us to the charming town of Lambertville, New Jersey, to meet her friend Cara Brown. Cara, who is a jewelry designer, shows us around her 300-year-old home that's filled to the brim with curiosities and collections.
This little old house is my jewel box. I'm a jewelry designer. This is an extension
of who you are,
of who I am, and it is each little piece in every corner tells a story, and it's the story of my family's life. It's the story of my travels, and you know, someday when I'm not here, I hope that my grandchildren will love these things, and but there'll be enough to go around to everybody.
I am gonna say, if you ever try to move from this place, Lord help your husband.
Plus, incredible flea market finds.
This is a Chanel button mold that I'm not sure that the dealer knew what he had. So I picked this up for $10.
So come along with these two friends for a home tour you won't want to miss. Enjoy! You're watching Homeworthy, where we believe every home has a story. Be sure to visit our website, homeworthy.com, to discover amazing furniture, art, accessories, and more, all handpicked by our editors to help transform your house into a home. All of the items are inspired by the episodes you see here on Homeworthy. Enjoy!
Welcome, Homeworthy. My name is Ruth McKeaney, and I'm so excited to introduce you to my friend Cara. She has the cutest house in Lambertville, New Jersey, and let's take a look. Hi.
Welcome, Homeworthy.
Thank you. Come on, let's go look at your living room.
Amazing. Let's go.
Hi, I'm so excited to introduce you to my friend Cara. You know, I think often, my favorite house stories or when a home tells the story of the person who lives there. And I think what you're going to find as we go around Cara's house is that her home tells her story. So welcome.
Thank you.
Where are we? Where are we?
We are in New Jersey, right in the middle of the state. Lambertville is my mailing address.
Oh my goodness. Now, how did you end up? How long have you been here?
We have been here since 2005. So the longest I've ever lived anywhere, actually.
And you're here from Texas, right?
Originally from Texas, grew up there. My husband did as well. My kids were all born in Texas, but we're here. We're misplaced Texans in New Jersey. But no one knows how good New Jersey is.
Well, you've made me a believer. How old is this house?
The house was built in 1724, so we're coming up on the 300th year next year.
You're like 5 years younger than our house. We're like right in that same, 1717. Okay. So it's really fun. How did we meet?
We originally met at a trunk show of mine. Small little get together on the main line, and
a trunk show for what?
For my jewelry. I hand make necklaces out of old things, and one-of-a-kind pieces that are just an art piece for someone to wear and enjoy with their fine jewelry.
And I think we initially, we had an instant connection, and you said, will you throw me a trunk show? And that's how we started.
That's how we started.
Okay, Cara, what room are we in right now?
We are in my favorite room of the house. This is my dining room. This was the very first room built for this home in 1724.
Hence the low, I mean, I can touch the beam.
Which I feel like they're their own art piece, like representing American history here.
Right.
So.
Which there's a lot of American history in here.
There is. Right. I have an American flag in my, this does not work. We're not burning the flag. Okay. Yeah. But this is an antique American flag from early 1900s, but my son is in the Navy. So this is just, I love that the fact that there's an anchor in the flag and stars and stripes. We've got it all. And then I have this eagle right here by an amazing wood carver, Will Couts. And even though it looks old and he's made it look like there's so much history in it, it just was delivered about a month ago.
Wow,
and I feel like it just makes the mantle.
Tell us about your table.
I love setting the table. You know, it always is a tiny bit a little hard for me to get going, but once I do, I love taking the time and just enjoying the process. I started with this container by a friend of mine, Jen Figgy, with Figgy Floral. She made this piece, and it doesn't matter what I put in it, it makes my table beautiful. I can just throw things in from my yard. These berries are from my yard. Another friend of mine made all these little pumpkins, and it just fit perfectly in this container.
It did.
I love pulling out the silver from both my husband's grandmother and my grandmother. Both had Francis I. And I feel like in today's world, a lot of times we don't take the time to actually use what we have. You know, so
I believe in using your good china and your silver all the time.
Me too. So I can't say that I do it on a regular basis, but for special occasions of people coming home, I make sure to pull out my silver. And actually, it's my husband who loves, you know, the whole process as well. So
I love it. Okay, can I tell you, this is one of my favorite things in this dining room. What you can't see is there's an entire mural done on every wall. Tell me.
Well, so I've always loved Gracie Studios hand-painted wallpapers, and for this room, we really decided we wanted to do our own thing and have an artist come in. Her name is Carol Nagel, and she's out of Doylestown. And so we had her paint the scene of our property as if we were driving in the driveway.
That.
So this is our field across here.
I tried to get my husband to buy into this, and we're working on it.
We'll work on him.
We'll
get him.
I love it. I love it. What quirk, because your ceilings, so I also live in a farmhouse, as you know, but our ceilings are high.
You have Center Hall Colonial.
Yes, these ceilings are low.
Yes. So our house was originally built by French Huguenots who escaped from France for religious freedom. And this is the second edition where we're right now. This was around 1760. As we go through the house today, the original part.
Your dining room?
My dining room is 1724. And we haven't had to do a lot. We bought this house from a family who had been in the wife's family for 110 years. And the husband, they bought it in 1981, and the husband was a contractor. So he lifted up the floorboards and put down heating, and they now, you know, they had running water and all of that kind of thing that we thankfully were able to just move in and enjoy. We've done some updating, but
yours has been more cosmetic, I think. Like
more cosmetic for sure. Thankfully, you know, we've had to learn how to, in these small rooms, incorporate all of our furniture. When we moved from Texas, we had a 6,000 square foot house, and I wasn't quite ready to let go of all my treasures, but slowly through the years, I have edited, and I'm always editing because I love.
Yeah, but you're not like Bob and I. We love, so we moved every 18 months flipping houses.
Yes.
My favorite day of the year was when that big trash bin would come.
No, I would be like, I probably would be like, jumping into that.
Okay. I was literally like, let's get rid of once a year, just kind of purge. That would be like your worst day.
Well, I do. You know, now I do feel like the problem for me is I do feel like all of my things are treasures. Okay. So now that my two of my kids are out of the house and have their own home, I'm passing treasures onto them.
I did. I went into her bedroom right before this, and I said, what are all these paintings along the wall? Can I buy one? She's like, those are for my kids. So you are constantly collecting. Okay, let's talk about collections real quick.
Sure.
How do you determine what you're going to collect? And we'll go around and see some of your collections, but
yes.
Are there certain things that you love to collect, or is it?
Well, I'll show you, I think if the lighting is good, I'd love to show you my miniature chair collection, because that started, let me go back a little bit. Growing up, I loved miniatures. Little things. I always wanted a dollhouse with little tiny things, because I just thought they were so amazing. Like, who made little things? Like it's just.
I never wondered.
Well, so my great grandmother had a little tiny chair that was from her collection, and my mom always put it on her mantle, like this little, just one little tiny thing in, in a scale of bigger 14-foot ceilings. Right. And I was obsessed with it. So my mom eventually gave it to me, and through the years, I just started collecting little chairs.
Where do you find little chairs?
People give them to me. It's so funny because people, as I go in my travels, I've had people say, I collect little chairs. I'm bringing you one from my collection. And so now I have a whole long line of miniature chairs, but it all started with this love of little things and seeing my great-grandmother's intricate little sterling chair. I think that's probably also why I love jewelry, because I use my hands to create something beautiful out of little things. I don't know. Maybe I'm just a little crazy.
I love meeting someone who has a completely different skill set than me.
Everybody has a different
I'm big
brain,
picture.
Right?
Yeah.
You are.
I'm big picture.
Yes. Yes, absolutely. So this is one of my favorite pieces of furniture. When we were first married, I wanted to have a Welsh dresser. My mother-in-law had one, and my father-in-law has one, and I just loved the look. So for our very first home, this was one of the first pieces of furniture that we bought. The fun thing about this is that all of these Staffordshire pieces were my husband's grandmother's, and I love just the history of having that in our home, but also I love Staffordshire. I love Amari china. This is one of our first purchases outside of our china that we registered for as a couple. We've been married almost 30 years, and we both love just the thrill of the hunt and finding special things. But this piece of furniture, this Welsh dresser, holds some of our favorite things in this home. So it's a precious place in this corner. In the traveling for my business, I love going to flea markets. I love my kids. The joke was growing up that I would stop on the side of the road for any trash heap to see what treasures might be in there. And as people have interviewed me through the years, they've said I should have been a pirate because I'm always looking for the hidden treasure. Well, one morning after dropping my son off at the airport at like 5 a.m., my husband and I decided, okay, we're going to go to the flea market early. This is when all of the true dealers get there and find the finds. Well, I walked by this painting, and I didn't think my husband would like it, but we both looked at it and we're like, oh my gosh, we have to bring that home. And I think I paid about $225 for the painting. Come to find out, there is a museum for this artist in Arizona, and it's worth thousands of dollars. So that was just a real high for me because I just love finding. I didn't even know that it was still possible in this day and age, but you can still find those hidden treasures out there and bring them home.
Okay, Cara, what is the favorite thing you've done in your home?
My favorite room is my dining room. I do love let me preface this. My home is a little bit like a hobbit house.
That is true. Low
ceilings. When we first moved in here, we had lots of boxes, as you can imagine, and my husband was like, I'm feeling claustrophobic. We've moved into a hobbit house. This is not going to work. No. And now he has relaxed 20 years later, realizing that it is a little jewel box. But I love my dining room. It has the original walk-in fireplace. Mm-hmm. It's not functioning currently, but I think there's just a warmth there. I love the table. I love when we're all together.
Well, and it's the place you break bread together.
Absolutely. Well, and it's in the center of our house. Mm-hmm. So you can't walk anywhere in our house without going through the dining room. Mm-hmm. And it's breaking bread. It's a place where we all actually take time to sit, relax. We're all very hard workers in our family, and it's just a time of being together and resting and eating, and there's just something to that.
There's something to that. So how did you even get into jewelry? And I think that's fascinating because I think it has to do, and Christmas is coming, but yes, I think it has to do with ornaments. Would you tell us that story?
Absolutely. I graduated from Vanderbilt and moved back to my hometown, and a good friend of mine and I started making Christmas ornaments out of antique jewelry. It had been a long legacy in her family of her great Aunt Hattie making beautiful Christmas ornaments. And I remember going to a book study at her house, and these ornaments were all over her table. And I told her, I said, when you're missing several of your pieces, they're at my home, because I will have stolen them.
You're saying jewelry, and I need you to, ornaments?
Yeah.
What are you talking about?
So,
are you talking about a ball that you've stuck something in, or what are you talking about?
Way more detailed. So similar to what you might have seen from your great aunt making in the 50s, okay. These were jewel encrusted balls. So it took us, we didn't have kids, we were newly married, and it took us between 6 and 8 hours to make each Christmas ornament.
Wow.
But we were selling them also at little trunk shows and a couple boutiques in Fort Worth. And Neiman Marcus ended up finding out about our little business, and the two of us went to a meeting with the Christmas buyer, and she said she'd take 200.
And that's where it all started.
That's where it all started.
And you jumped from there to jewelry.
Well, I raised my kids for 18 years, and my middle one is special needs. So that took a lot of my time, but I just loved handmade pieces. I loved necklaces, because I don't personally change out any of my other jewelry other than my necklaces. And after my oldest left for college, I decided to make a necklace out of some of my old things left over from my Neiman Marcus days. And literally people started buying them off my neck. I never thought I'd have that kind of story, but it was really a fun. And
then you got into, is it Barney's?
So my first store was here in Princeton, Zoe, and then my next store was on Nantucket, and those two shops that really believed in me always hold just a special place in my heart, because that broke the ice for me. But then after I was selling to those two places, I ended up getting an interview with Barney's, and they were my third store, my big first store.
All right, we are on our way to the living room, but we're stopping in my personal favorite place, and that's the entryway to this house. There is so much light. I mean, you have this amazing brick floor, and I just want to kind of ask Cara, is this an addition or was this here?
This was an addition. The structure was here. It was a outdoor porch. So when we moved in, we didn't have an entry, and I always think an entry is very important. So, and we also had this piece of furniture from my husband's grandmother that was too tall to fit in any other spot of the house. So we built a room for the furniture. But the brick floor is original, and all we did was just add the walls. So
right. I mean, even how you layer your pictures and paintings along a window. I mean, you've mixed sculptures, you've mixed art. It's amazing.
Well,
I mean, there's no telling. It might be butterflies. It's beautiful.
The interesting thing is that I try to keep a lot of my colors neutral, but then add pops of color in unexpected places. So this painting,
Elizabeth Endress.
Elizabeth Endress's painting here, I got to buy this from her when she was in art school.
And she's the one, you took me to her house, and I have a huge one over my bed.
Yes. And
right.
I love that it's fresh and modern, mixed in with a lot of my old collected family heirlooms.
And my husband would love that there's no people in there.
Yes. I love the tablescape. This secretary was in my husband's family. It was his grandmother's, and she loved to go to New Orleans and buy antiques. And so when she passed away, it was something that we wanted to have in our home. I don't ever really change this backdrop. I love all the treasures that are in there. They are old books, some Staffordshire, some china, but I do change this quite often. And right now it's housing a terrarium that I found at a thrift store. When I got it, it was full of rocks, and I don't think people could see the beauty of it, but this piece is probably from around 1910. And I just love putting like flowers from my yard just a little haphazardly in there to add just a fresh touch, but still they last a long time when they're in this terrarium. That same house sale that Ruth talked about, I found this pair of reverse painted vases, and even though they're chipped and the paint is peeling a little bit, I just love how they look with telling a story. So obviously they're old, they're a little cracked, but their beauty just still shines through. This is one of my favorite little vignettes. I have a Navy man here for my son who's in the Navy. Just collected pieces from a friend of mine who does art, Katie Robinson, and this is another Elizabeth Endress. One of the most interesting things too is this stag bust or head that you see here. And that actually belonged to Georgia O'Keeffe. It's on the back. My husband ended up getting it from a friend of his in Princeton, and it had been given to her and brought back after she passed away. And I get to have a piece of another artist here in my home that's very well known. This is just a fun little thing. Every day, my son who lives here with us comes and flips the calendar. So I try to have things in our house that not just look pretty, but also our family gets to enjoy. And he has special needs, but one of his favorite things is to check off the calendar every day. So in all areas of the house, he has a little calendar to flip or check or mark off, and it just gives him joy while he's home too. When I first moved to New Jersey, I really feel like I had a black thumb, but we do live in the Garden State. And I now belong to a garden club, Stony Brook Garden Club. And so in different places in my house, I do love now having live plants. I'm coming a long way. I'm not killing everything that I own now. But I did just bring these inside because we started getting a frost. And so my little lemon tree, we brought it in. Not that there's a lot of room for it right now, but I just want to save it and see how it's going to grow and change as it makes it through the winter in my home, and survive the frost in my front room. So I love having the greenery, the different textures, and just more oxygen in the house.
So you're not you don't just collect art, you are an artist. And I love that.
A little bit of the above.
You've given me an art, and I'm going to tell this really funny story. Well, it's fun. So anyone who's read my book knows that I frame my kids' things all over my house, because part of me telling my family's story has been through I have 5 kids, all of their artwork. So when I came to your house and I saw what real art, and let's be clear, I'm not saying my children's things aren't real art, but you gave me an appreciation for looking outside of that. And you said, well, you know what, why don't you and Bob come to this young lady's house? Actually, she had a little apartment not too far from here. Yes. I was like, where is she sleeping? We walk in and wall to wall canvases, and we're looking at this art, and my husband, Bob, we're in the middle of all of our house renovations. Yes. So there wasn't a lot of extra money for art. And he looks at me and he's like, have you seen the prices? And I was like, shh. And he said, Ruth, let's stop at home, get a canvas. I can paint this. Because it wasn't like some beautiful landscape. It was color and just a mishmash and he was like, I can do this. So we get home and I bought a painting, because you said, Ruth, I promise in a few years you're not going to be able to pick up her work.
Yes.
And which did turn out to be true. And I put this painting over my bed, which, by the way, you were 100% right. It brought life to my room. But we put it over my bed, and my husband says to me, well, at least you didn't get one of those paintings that had all those distorted people. And I was like, honey, I want you to look a little more careful at that picture. It's a tea party. It actually has women all around. And he was like, oh my word. But it's turned out to be one of our favorite pieces in the house.
Oh, sure.
So you just have a unique ability. I mean, every time I talk to you, you've bought another piece of art. And I'm like, where else are you going to put it? And I think I came in one day, and we'll show this later, but it's a Campbell's soup picture. You just have a way of curating a room that is different than anyone that I've ever known. And so that's kind of what I want to learn from you is how do you choose things? What makes you choose things? Is how do you make, I'm going to give you another example. A lot of people are minimalists and they take pride in being minimalists. And what I mean by that is they want clean lines. They don't want stuff. They don't want stacks. Less is more. Yes. I met you and more is more. So
my hashtag is not a minimalist.
Okay, no, you are a maximalist. So how do you do that in a way that doesn't make someone feel claustrophobic or, clutter?
Great
and
question.
So that's what I kind of want to know.
Okay. So,
if I attempted this, it would not happen.
well, part of my, I would say, problem is that through my business, I travel.
You're self-aware. I'm just going to go ahead and tell you that. It's a problem.
Yeah, it is a problem.
All right, go ahead.
Part of my business is traveling around, and I get to meet so many artisans as I go across the country. And I'm usually selling with people who are so talented, and as I meet them, I want a piece of them in my home. Like I can't leave that moment without bringing them home with me. So I've also learned, I think the big question for me is I edit all the time. I'm always moving things around. I would say every week I'm moving something, but it makes it fun. Right. It's not something that I see as a chore. Right. I really see it as, like you said, like this little old house is my jewel box. Yes. I'm a jewelry designer. This is an extension of who I am. And it is each little piece in every corner tells a story. And it's the story of my family's life. It's the story of my travels. And, someday when I'm not here, I hope that my grandchildren will love these things. But there'll be enough to go around to everybody.
I am going to say, if you ever try to move from this place,
I'm not
Lord
moving.
help your husband. But I love it. All right, so I think we're coming into your living room now. And one of the most interesting things in here is this tablescape. Tell me about it.
So, like I said earlier, that I love little things. And as I've grown up, I can't have dolls and doll furniture. So this is kind of my version of my little things, but still a grown-up version where I have an whale's tooth. We go to Nantucket in the summers, and this is a whale's tooth from about 1860 that was probably the start. It was the start to my collection.
So I have to tell you, all the times I've been here, I thought they were a collection of one thing. They're not.
They're all different.
They're all different.
This, because I love Elizabeth Endress's paintings, she painted this little box for me, and has a little poem for me on the inside. I have new things. I mean, this is a copper box with some jewels in it, but that's not anything old.
Okay. What's going on here?
That's probably from the 1940s. It's Murano glass and just a really cool art piece. I love the color.
No, I love that you throw in a little modern, or what looks to be modern. Let me put it that way.
This is kind of fun. This is from, I make necklaces out of antique horse brasses, and this was also used on the horses' manes and their leather harnesses. But the name of my business is Cara Brown Designs, and here we go. This is CBDC Limited, but for me, I'm saying Cara Brown Designs Company.
Oh, there you go. Yeah.
So a little piece of my business here on.
I love it.
My crazy. Oh, and here is also. I found this at the flea market. This is a Chanel button mold that I'm not sure that the dealer knew what he had. So I picked this up for $10. So it doesn't matter, what it is. It's just like the things that I love, and I think that helps to tell the story.
Yeah.
I love when I see people who have gallery walls in their home, and in this cottage that we live in, we don't have a lot of wall space, but I did create this one here. My husband and I had traveled to England when I was pregnant with my second son, and we have these to represent that. You know, I love having mirrors. I love having a little bit of modern along with the old. The interesting thing is I just picked up this painting by Ed Rice in Augusta, Georgia last week, and I knew I had just a little spot for it, so it had to come home with me in my suitcase. I also love when people have pianos in their home, and for me, when we first moved in this house, my daughter took piano lessons. I don't think she could play a lick if you asked her today, but I love the idea of music, so that if somebody does come into your home, there's an opportunity for them to play. So I've used my piano to display photographs. I have a local friend who's an artist who did this sculpture of this bird, Mira, and she's in my garden club, and she is from Poland and just does a beautiful job with sculpting.
All right, can you tell me what is this?
So that is an old merry-go-round that a Baptist preacher built on Nantucket around 1890. And wow. I just happened to be at one of my favorite haunts, the Hospital Thrift Store on Nantucket. And there were a couple of pieces of his that had just been donated, and I just had to make sure that I came home with it. My husband loved it too.
It's beautiful, and I love that it can get lost, but yet it's its own piece.
It's neutral, so it does blend in, but I love having a bit of whimsy with an old toy mixed in with fine antiques. The David painting.
And you were the first person, actually, that really encouraged me to recover things from old fabric. Right. And you took me to a place, was it in Princeton?
No, it was in New Hope.
Okay, you took me to a place in Home. It was this huge kind of mansion, old. Yes. And were they collectors of fabric?
They, so the mother was an interior designer and in the New Hope area, and the son, she'd passed away, and the son is also an interior designer. But, you know, they were trying to, more of an estate sale type thing.
Floor to ceiling, every floor of this house was covered in bolts of fabric. Beautiful and fabrics. I mean, literally 15 deep, and old furniture. And you walk in there with me, you said, I think Charlotte Moss went and got, who else? I mean, major designers were going.
Okay. I think she was the biggest one.
She's and we'd come in and go, oh, you can tell Charlotte was just here. But anyway, so we go in and you're like, no, that fabric, that texture, you need to combine with that, and then go swap out your furniture. So you taught me that as well, and I've really appreciated that.
Well, it's a joy for me. I love helping people make the most out of what they have. And I think that, you know, part of also my story is that I grew up with a mother that is an interior designer. She went back to school when I was about 10 years old and got her degree. And, you know, it was before there were a lot of decorators out there. Like, she really went and got her, you know, went back to school and learned, you know, I saw her doing CAD drawings in the middle of the night. And she worked really hard to be able to do that. But what it instilled in me was I loved seeing her repurpose old things in people's homes and bring the history out, because I feel like that if you just don't have the history, I mean, for me, I have to tell stories. Some people just live and don't, and just they go in and out of their homes. But for me, my home is going to tell my story and my family's story and the legacy of my grandparents, my husband's parents and grandparents. And it just means more as I live in this space to have the history around me. So I just feel like that generations are important.
Well, and you've clearly learned that from your mom. And, you know, another example was I brought you all my jewelry, and I don't have very much, but a lot of it I never wear because I thought, well, it's out of style. I had one of those gold charm bracelets that my husband for each of my children had bought a charm, and I'm like, I don't wear this anymore. And you said, all right, let's make it into a necklace. And so you helped me repurpose that into a necklace. Or my daughter, my oldest, just got married in September, and I said I had this old aquamarine tennis bracelet when I graduated law school. I don't wear it. And you said, all right, let's take some stones out. Let's make earrings for your daughter. So I love, again, your attention to not losing the history and the meaning behind something and the creativity that you use to bring it, you know, to make it current. So I love that.
Well, it's not work for me. It's my pleasure. Like, I really enjoy, I just did it for another friend of mine in Augusta, Georgia. And it didn't take me, 15 minutes to go through her jewelry box, and I just said, get rid of this. Let's put this charm on this chain. We're gonna update it. She didn't spend any money, and now she has a whole new jewelry box full of treasures that have been in her family that she didn't know how to wear, and it makes me so happy.
All right, let's go into what you call your world travel room.
Yes, absolutely. Let's go. So this is my world travels room. I love, everywhere I go, I love bringing home a souvenir, and this is kind of my outlet for that. I have old things, new things. I have Paulo Costa's modern art mixed in with a little bit of sculpture that is a local artist, and as well as I love old toll painted pieces. So it's a bit of art. It's an art room that just is an expression of our travels, which I really enjoy.
Now we're in my other favorite room, and maybe there's so much light, I love it, but this is the breakfast area of the kitchen. And Cara, I want you to come on in and tell us a little bit about it.
Yes, I love sitting at this table, and I don't ever get tired of the view. It's peaceful, it is beautiful, it changes with the seasons. This is one of my favorite rooms just because of the light, the view, the change of seasons. I get to look at it as I'm taking phone calls and doing paperwork and making necklaces. I do a lot at this kitchen table. Yesterday I was out in my garden.
I can eat this.
You can eat this.
Okay, it's chard.
Yes, this is Swiss chard, and it was the last of the vegetables from my garden.
I'm surprised you have anything left because mine's gone. So
I know, and I saw it after I'd cut it in a basket, and I just thought, why not put it in the middle of the table, and
why not?
Anyone can just chew on it.
I was going to say, add a little salad dressing. There you go.
Exactly. So this room experiences a lot of life. One of the treasures that I found when I was first married and haunting estate sales whenever I could spare the time, I found this needlepoint piece here, and it's really long, and I couldn't bear to cut it up. It's about 12 to 13 feet long, and I never had a home where I could display it. It didn't work anywhere until we moved into this house. And so I just knew, it is a little, definitely old world, but I mix it in with modern art. But it's just one of those things that whoever spent the time to do this needlepoint, to make each stitch and make each scene, I felt like just needed to be honored, because I can't imagine the time and energy it took for that person in the 1800s to make this piece, and I get to enjoy it now in 2023. So like I had talked about before, I am in a garden club, and I actually am able to keep things alive now. This is a fiddly fig that I bought at Costco, I think for $19.99. And it was just a baby, but it has loved this space so much. I've had to cut it back because it was growing along the ceiling, and my husband and family were like, the plant is going to take over the kitchen. I don't know where else I can move it, but it's just so happy. So like, seeing it be happy makes me happy. Sometimes I'll come back from being out of town, and it's a little sad looking. It needs water, but between the water and a little food, it is. I think it's trying to take over.
Do I recognize this?
Absolutely. I could not have my kitchen function without Hungry for Home. Funny enough, this is my favorite recipe. I am a chocolate chip cookie girl, and Ruth's chocolate chip cookies are the best anywhere. So I love that they're a little bit half baked, and of course you can see here I am with my marked spot right here.
I love it.
You know, ready to go.
We're getting ready to sell them at something called Yuletide that's happening in Philadelphia. So I have to bake about 1,000 of these this weekend. So.
Oh anyway, my goodness. Well, I'm hoping they're going to be at our barn sale.
I know. They're going to be at the barn sale.
I have to have one of I actually have to say they're better when she makes them. Maybe it's just because.
Do you know I've had people reach out to me, and so on my Instagram, on Hungry for Home, I've actually done a tutorial because people are like, why are they different when you cook them? And I'm like, I think anything's better than when somebody else cooks them, though.
It is. It's true, but it's also about the timing.
Yeah,
it's either the 4 or 6 minutes. I can't remember right now, but it's like.
They're barely baked.
They're barely baked, and they are perfection.
All right, so Cara, I want to know how you got here from Texas. I mean, Texans are Texans.
Completely.
And Texans don't go anywhere else, and I know that because I know some. So how did you get from Texas to, first of all, New Jersey? And not to knock New Jersey, but that's just not the, I don't know the connection.
For a Texan, the word New Jersey is a bad word.
Okay.
But my husband and I have both fallen in love with this state. I mean, no one knows how amazing it is. We originally came in 2001. We moved to the Northeast 2 weeks before 9/11 happened. Okay. And we originally came for my husband to go to seminary in Philadelphia. Okay. And he'd been in the business world, but decided that he felt like his calling really was to do marriage and family counseling. Okay. And so we packed up, moved up here, and ended up in New Jersey for his job. But thankfully, I wouldn't have been able to do what I do without being this close to the city. Yeah. It was easy for me to meet with Saks, to meet with Barney's, to go meet with Harper's Bazaar, like all of those things. If I lived in Texas, I don't know if I would have been brave enough to do all of that,
Well, you were kind of forced out of a comfort zone.
I completely was. Yeah. And we really feel like New Jersey is small town Texas. Like Texas is losing a little bit of.
It is. It's a little bit of Texas.
So, my kids got to grow up in a small town where they could walk from school to the ice cream store or get pizza. And, we had Main Street parades, flag waving USA. Like, it grabbed our hearts. And we've really we haven't just lived here because we've had to. We've lived here loving it.
And you're not just living in southern New Jersey, which is very different, I feel like, than this area, which basically is the art world.
Well, and we live 20 minutes
world.
from Princeton. Okay. So between the education and this area, it's really a delight. Like,
okay. And your husband's not still doing marriage counseling. He's back in the business world.
He's back in the business world. Okay. He is in telehealth and using his giftings. I'm getting to use my giftings with our kids all grown and out of the house.
Well, and I love too, because you do have a special needs child who's a little older now, but this area has really given him an opportunity, and we work and different things like that.
Completely. We are here, we love it, but we're also here for him because he feels purpose each day, going to work and being with his friends, and he's so joyful in his day. So we're here for the long haul.
All right, so one of my favorite things that I love is down your stairs. You have actually one of my favorite verses. So tell us about that.
So we just wanted a statement about what our home represented, and loved this verse from Proverbs. It's Proverbs 24:3, and it says, "Through wisdom a house is built, and by understanding it is established." And so if we were just to choose an overarching theme for our home,
your home,
this is it.
I love it.
I
love it. So take us upstairs.
Let's go.
Okay, Cara, let's go into my favorite room. Another favorite. I mean, how many favorites can I have? This one you call your playroom, And I love it because there's joy in here. There's like color, and you've mixed so many whimsical type things. So tell us about this room.
So originally this was the playroom. This is where we had our kids' toys when we first moved in here because they were really young. And as they grew up and as we matured in this house, we have changed that to, we still call it the playroom, but it's still room? It's where we watch TV. It's actually where I make my necklaces at night. If I didn't make necklaces at night, I'd fall asleep and not be able to stay up for the movies that we watch. So again, it's another mixture of old things, whether it be folk art from the 1800s to a modern art piece here of this rooster. I love roosters. I don't know what it is. They just have so much character, and they're a little bit crazy and a little bit like me.
Well, and there's another Elizabeth Endress right here that I love. It's over our bed at our home.
Yes, I have her paintings probably in every room because I would say she probably is one of my favorite artists. So I don't know if we want to walk into my daughter's room.
Why don't you walk into
come on in.
Your daughter's room.
It's the same extension of what we've done throughout the house, but as my daughter has now grown up and moved to LA, we changed her room just a little bit to just make it more mature. One of the things that I did was I had added a touch of color to this cabinet here that had been in my husband's family, and I had a company called Shedworks come and turn this from just a natural color brown to more of a modern green with a lacquer coating. And my husband originally said, okay, that is going to clash with everything in the room. And instead, both my daughter and myself think it is just so fun. It's one of my favorite things in this room now. But I do love just using this room for when she comes home, but also when we have guests, which we have guests coming today. Just having a place where there is a little bit of detail in the room, but also not too much so that they can feel restful as well when they're in my home. So I love the bright colors. Again, Elizabeth Endress art, and just a bit of history from the books that my daughter read as she grew up in this room. It's a happy place. I talked about coming from Texas, and this rug was something that we had bought for actually my daughter's nursery. And we are collectors, so as time has passed, we find it's not that we buy things for each room. We buy things that we love, and then we make it work. So that is sort of how the maximalist approach has worked in this house, rather than minimalist, but they are all things that we have chosen because of the joy it gives us, rather than putting together the room all at one time. My look is collected, and it definitely is that. It has happened over time, one piece at a time, through 30 years of marriage, and both our families contributing to our home, which gives it the story. So along with this painted lacquer cabinet by Shedworks, I have a modern lamp here. I love lucite. I think that the clear nature of lucite, whether it be on beads that I use or in my home, just adds that fun modern touch. This lamp I actually bought for my daughter. She just moved to LA, and we had bought it for her apartment out there, and we couldn't fit it. As you can imagine, taking things from our home, we couldn't fit it on the moving truck. It was the last thing to try to be shoved in her truck, but it didn't fit. So I was like, you know what? It's staying here at my house. I love it so much. So it's here in her room waiting for her to enjoy when she comes home for Christmas.
So I'm excited. I haven't been here since you redid your gardens and you built the shed where you sell your jewelry. So let's go show everyone.
Let's go.
Okay, so I remember when this wasn't here.
Yes.
And I love it. You actually use it both for gardening as well as your kind of office.
We do. Welcome to my studio.
First of all, what do you grow in here?
We grow all kinds of things. Like the Swiss chard that you saw in the kitchen just came out of this bed yesterday. We have all kinds of lettuces that they're still trying to peek through after the freeze. We have peppers over there. I have herbs all in here.
Didn't you have an apple here at one point?
Yeah, I do. It's inside right now. The apple resides right here in the middle of this area. It's just with the freeze, I just want to make sure that I get to enjoy it for years instead of a season.
Well, open the doors. Let's see. I mean, we'll stay out here, but we'll look into it.
Yes. So this is my studio. The same artist that painted my dining room painted the mural in this room as well. When I have clients come to look at jewelry, I bring everything out here and they get to sit and try things on, and it's a little space, but it's just a joyful space. So it makes me happy, it makes others happy, and I love that it is still an extension of my home with a mixture, again, of old and new. And it is my take on a she shed and my space to have clients come and meet with me. But we also get to entertain out here. We've had a few cocktail parties that start here. So it's multi-purposed for our family, but also just a great space for clients. They don't have to come into my kitchen and try necklaces on anymore. They get to come here.
So what is home to you? If you were to close out your book, or my book is called Hungry for Home, close that out with what home is to you, what would it be?
It's rest.
I love that.
Just a place where my family can come, where I can come and exhale. And that's what I do. Like if I'm traveling, or there's just something about walking in the door or driving up the driveway and just being, I'm home.
Rest. I love it. Thank you so much, and I can't wait to show everyone around.
Yay!
Thanks for watching. Go to homeworthy.com for exclusive content and shopping guides.